Good morning, everyone. At this time, I'll call the Crow Wing County Regular Board meeting for October 14th, 2025 to order. If you'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, we'll have open forum, and first one up, I would like to call on Jeremy Larson. Remind you that there's a 3-minute time limit, and give us your name and where you reside.
Jeremy Larson, 12893 Hesitation Road, Deerwood, Minnesota, 56444.
Okay.
And me and my son are here just to see if we can purchase some land from my stepdad, and he was just wondering, he's the purchaser, and just if he can build a house on it if we do get it.
Okay, I think that I would direct you to Chris. Chris is sitting in the row over there. So if you want to have a discussion with him after the meeting, I think that would be the appropriate person to address that to.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
All right, thank you. And Ashton, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, not really.
Okay. Thank you. Next up, Kimberly Oliver. Good morning.
Morning. Kimberly Oliver. I live at 130 Kelly Ray Road, Brainerd, Minnesota. I come before you today not just as a citizen, but as a survivor of the systematic intimidation and economic sabotage, along with the constitutional betrayal that I've experienced in this county. I not only speak for myself, but others that are in fear every time we leave our homes to being hunted and stalked by the police officers. We are not criminals per se. We have not so much as broken the law, but we are targeted because we've seen corruption firsthand through our law enforcement that is not addressed. People that are low income don't have an option to fight for our rights. We are denied effective counsel. We are denied numerous of our constitutional rights almost every time we have to deal with law enforcement. Hunted, stalked, forced into felony plea deals, whatever, because we don't have the financial backing to stand up for ourselves. We don't have the financial needs to obtain our own lawyers. Our court-appointed lawyers, it's not acceptable to have them as an Aiken County Community Corrections Board member as our public defenders. I don't think that's a very good thing. It's very systematic when dealing with these cops and certain people. We don't have our rights. We're denied them at all costs. And I feel that because we don't have our rights, that we are being treated as less than human, like we don't deserve to breathe. And I don't think that's fair. I would like to have that addressed, investigations as much as possible, because I know I'm not an isolated incident. We have a very big community of people that are targeted by the police that don't have our rights. We shouldn't have to fear leaving our homes every time we leave because we feel like we're going to be erased. It's not acceptable. we should have people that are leading by example if they're sworn into positions of our government or judicial systems, as well as law enforcement. We don't have our rights. Why is that? Everybody else gets their rights. Why do we, as targeted individuals, not have our rights? It's getting to be overwhelming, the number of people I've talked to that have had their constitutional rights violated, denied counsel, denied any option to defend themselves, to stand up for themselves. We are treated, punished horribly. I don't know how to live in this county because every time I leave my home, I'm in fear. It is not okay. I should not have to live in fear by those sworn to protect and serve.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to speak on a subject that is not on our agenda? Mr. McDermott?
Yes. Was I supposed to make out a form out there and turn it in?
That's the process, but you can go ahead and speak. Just remind us who you are and where you reside. And then there's 3 minutes.
My name is Pat McDermott. I live at 15806 Miller Lake Road, Crosby, Minnesota.
Okay.
That's the north end of Trumbull. Just bear with me, please. I'm going to go back to, this is going on for 20 plus years. ATV Club contacted District 5 commissioner at that time by the name of Doug Hogue, and so he promoted ATV trails, which is good. I got an ATV myself, and the grandkids come up and love to ride on the ATV. And problem is, the county has a contract with the ATV club that they maintain their own trails, and including putting up signs and stop signs, directional signs, and that was neglected. And come, like I said, 20 plus years, April 1st of 1920, COVID hit, and I got hit with a stroke, and so I spent, after flying down to Minneapolis, I spent nearly a month in recovery, and good thing my wife was able to be my caregiver. After 55 years, she's still a caregiver. And the crux of the thing is the club put out signs, and when they put out some of the signs, that right in my backyard, in fact, I had to get a variance because I got a smaller lot, and your variance is going to be 10 feet behind, away from the monument that where my backyard is, and they come and dumped a lot of tailings in there. And if I stood on my property, the tailings would have landed on my toes, and that's where the trail is, right on my toes. And they go speeding through there, and finally got them. They worked it out with the land department, Tom Strack, I believe his name is. Yep. And so you had the land commissioner and supervisor, Gary
Griffin?
Don't remember his last name.
Griffin.
And they come out and along with Doug Oak, he come out there and viewed the area where it's at, and why should they go speeding by my yard? And they go speeding, they don't put down, the township puts down the binder that they use for keeping the dust down on the road. And then, like I say, it's been going on for years, and finally the club went out there and put some signs up, stop signs. The sheriff previously, a few years prior to that, the sheriff put up 10-mile-an-hour stop signs. He said, how do we regulate that? I said, the DNR has in their books for snowmobiles, no more than 10 miles an hour past a fish house by snowmobiles. and he went with that, so 10 miles an hour. And that's too fast even with the dry roads, and both of our bathrooms upstairs and downstairs. Upstairs and downstairs, you gotta, with the windows open, you gotta clean it daily. And I'm not much of a housekeeper, my wife does it, but with the windows shut when the snowmobiles, it doesn't create the dust. In fact, I talked to Jamie Lee on the phone one time, just a few weeks ago, I think it was. And he said, well, the club had some extra money, so they put the binder down, which is a sodium chloride, that salt, keeps the binder, the dust down on the road. And I gotta get my left side and the cognitive thinking is all there yet, but I just got my driver's license back, so I passed the medical and written test, the driving test, but they restricted me to 10 miles an hour, which is the county dump from my house. And just 2 days ago, I think it was, they increased after another medical evaluation for the driving test. They allowed me to drive 50 miles past my house now. So I was able to drive in, and my wife would not. She has nothing to do with it. In fact, I alienated her because of all this problem that I've been dealing with. And she says, give it up. Everybody else says, give it up. Why are you dwelling on this? Well, it's a problem because I spent almost a month recovering, and she come down to pick me up at the Abbott. I think it was Abbott, yeah. And we get onto the state property line, which is, I don't know if you, let me ask you guys with a poll. Mr. Coring, do you own an ATV? Have you ever driven out on those trails?
No, I don't own an ATV.
Pardon me?
No, I do not own an ATV.
You don't?
Nope.
You don't own one. Have you ever ridden with somebody on the ATV trails?
No.
How about Mr. Barrows?
I do not own one. I have been out on the trails, walking them, but not riding with anyone.
That the area that I'm talking behind my house,
Yes.
they pointed out where my house was, do you?
I don't know that they pointed out your exact house. I just know where the trail is, or the
Okay.
proposed trail.
I don't know about Jamie Lee. He's our new commissioner for our district. Did you do that with the sheriff's department?
So after you and I spoke on the phone, I actually spent some time out there with Tom on the trails, and we checked it out, and we were at your place. You weren't home the day that we were there, but we have been through there, and I
Okay.
understand the situation. I've also spoken with the sheriff, and they've been out there twice enforcing, and have come up with 0 violations so far, so
Okay, now let me comment on that.
go right ahead.
I'd see these guys, there's 1 to 15 ATVs blowing through the stop sign at the club. Let me back that up. When the club put the signs up, they just drove in. The year before that, the power company ran another power line buried in the ground along the road all the way out to a guy by the name of Jim, Friday. He owns some land along Miller Lake Road. He's got some shoreline there. And they come out off the trail, which is probably maybe 15 miles an hour, 15 at the very max, because it's a roller coaster. So they hit that plowed road, they just gun it out of there. And trail of dust behind them, everybody's wearing masks, N95 masks, or bandanas. Even the little kids are riding in the back of the UTVs. And my understanding is they got to have insurance to ride those trails, at least on the county road part of it. And that's not a county road, that's state land. And, but the county gave me easement, Rosemary, at that time. I've applied for a small lot easement variance. And you made a mention back, that's 1996. You made a mention that floodplain area back there. And we used do a site visit. That's why I'm coming and present this problem to you guys, to do a site visit out there for these ATVers. And when a sheriff gets called, I call the sheriff and report it, and I apologize to the county, the dispatcher, the 911 operator, and I made a terroristic threat that if you guys don't do something about it, because my attorney originally, and you've all dealt with him before, most of you did anyway, he said you gotta make a lot of noise, bet this is gonna get very expensive. At over $1,300 an hour, being retired, I can't afford that guy. No way. But I'm pleading to your intelligence that going to do a site visit and move the trail either away or enforce it by the sheriff won't enforce it. When you said that, he said he's made 2 calls out there because of me calling. These guys are violating the stop signs that the club put up, and I don't know, well, one I know when I stopped and talked to him, Pat, you can't do that, you can't infringe upon the right of freedom. And my family says that, and they're ready to disown me. But
Mr. McDermott, I've been very considerate. You know, normally it's 3 minutes. I understand your issue, and I think that Commissioner Lee and we'll work with those clubs and see if we can't get something done there.
I've been begging that for years.
Well,
Nothing's done.
we will
And
carry,
that's what
we'll
my
carry the
family told
water
me.
for
Nothing
you.
you can do, you're not gonna do anything with them.
We will carry the water for you. So just be assured that it's going to get addressed. All right?
Sooner than later, because might not be around.
I get it. The odometer keeps moving, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
All right. Thank you very much.
That's the only time I get.
Correct. We'll move on to number 3, which is to review and approve the minutes from September 23rd, 2025. And I think, well, we'll take them one at a time.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Franzine to approve,
Second.
second by Commissioner Coring. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Not in favor, same sign. 3.2, amend the 8/26/25 regular county board meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
Motion by
Second.
Commissioner Franzine, second by Commissioner Coring. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Not in favor, same sign. That motion passes. Number 4, review and approve the agenda for today. Any additions?
Mr.
changes?
Chair, no additions or corrections to today's agenda.
I would look for a motion
Motion
to
to
approve.
approve.
Commissioner Coring makes a motion to approve. Second by Commissioner Franzine. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Not in favor, same sign. That motion passes. Number 5, consent agenda.
Motion. Second.
By Commissioner Franzine, second by Commissioner Coring. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Not in favor, same sign. That motion passes. Move on to number 6, Minnesota Power 345 kV transmission line project. Mr. Janke. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Nice to meet you all. Thank you. My name is Drew Janke. I'm an environmental compliance specialist with Minnesota Power, here today to give an overview of the Maple River to Cuyuna transmission line project. So the project itself will be jointly owned by Minnesota Power, who I represent, along with Otter Tail Power and Great River Energy. It is a new overhead transmission line at 345 kilovolts, approximately 160 miles. We're still working through the routing process, but 160 miles is an approximation. The project will run from Otter Tail Power's Maple River substation just outside of Fargo, North Dakota, and the other terminal point will be Minnesota Power's Cuyuna substation in Ironton. A little bit of background and need for why we're building the project. There's 4 main points here, but really starting with enhancing the reliability of the regional transmission system, increasing transmission system capacity, meeting growing electrical demand and enhancing resiliency during extreme weather events. And then this really is going to allow for cost-effective transfers of energy at the regional scale. A bit more background on the project. So the Mid-Continent Independent System Operator, or MISO, which is the system operator that was established or approved by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission in the early 2000s. Every so often they approve these batches or tranches of projects. And so in December of 2024, MISO approved tranche 2.1, which included 24 projects spread throughout the upper Midwest. And the Maple River to Cuyuna project was project number 20, approved in this recent tranche 2.1 batch of projects. A bit more on the components of the project. As I mentioned, we're looking at approximately 160 miles pending final routing and design. Will be built on double circuit capable structures. We are going to operate the project initially as a single circuit. However, both sets of conductors will be hung initially and jumpered together. So it'll operate as a single circuit to begin with, and then at some point down the road, when that second circuit's ready to be energized, that second set of conductors will already be strung during the initial construction. And then looking at the substation work, there will be some expansion of the Maple River substation. That's Otter Tail Power's substation just outside of Fargo. And then on the Cuyuna substation end, we don't anticipate any expansion. As part of this project, there will be some equipment additions within the fence in the current graded area. And then, as we progress through the routing process, there may be some rework of existing transmission lines that come out of that, but we're working through that and pending final route approval. Bit on the timeline here. So really where we've been, we hosted an initial round of public open houses in June. And we have another round occurring next week. So we'll have 2 within Crow Wing County here next Thursday, 1 in Breezy Point and 1 in Baxter. So we've had postcards out, so we'll be back in the area next week. And really looking forward, we'll be going to the Public Utilities Commission for 2 types of permits. First one is a certificate of need, which is essentially just like it sounds. We go to the Public Utilities Commission with a fairly lengthy application stating these are the reasons that this project is indeed needed in the interest of the public and our ratepayers. We anticipate filing that in either January or early February of 2026. And then the second permit that we'll go to the PUC for is the route permit, which is where we actually propose a route and then hopefully get approval for that route. And we anticipate filing that later in 2026, probably around August or September. And then once, during that time, we'll proceed with engineering and landowner engagement for easements as well. Pending approval and in progress, we anticipate construction starting in 2029 with the line going into service in 2033. So this is what you're seeing on the board here is where we started initially. So you can see the Maple River substation at the far northwest end, just outside of Fargo, and then the Cuyuna substation on the far southeastern end in Ironton. We started with a very broad study area, and that's what's depicted in gray. And then within that, we have the blue shaded areas that we identified as potential routing opportunities. We based that on existing high voltage transmission lines to the extent we could within that initial study area. And since their, last round of open houses in June, based on feedback we received from both the public and state regulatory agencies, we've refined those initial routing opportunities into preliminary routes. And that's what you're seeing on the bottom right-hand side of the picture. So really what we did was cut out a large portion of that initial area in the southwestern study area. Here's that figure a little bit better here. So these are the areas where we've winnowed it down to. Again, we're working through, still engaging with landowners, state agencies, federal agencies as they come up. And these will be refined even more by the time we file for our route permit. I mentioned the Minnesota permitting process a bit here. Here we've got the certificate of need and route permit processes side by side and kind of give you an idea of where we're at. On the certificate of need front, we will be filing our certificate of need notice plan. And that is actually subject to, or on the PUC agenda for October 30th. So that just outlines who we notify. It'll be essentially all the people within that area that was on the previous figure. And again, anticipate filing that certificate of need application early in 25, or 26, excuse me. We will be doing a little bit of permitting in North Dakota. They have some nuances or differences between the states, but here's a bit of background just for awareness. So they're on the North Dakota side, there's a certificate of public convenience and necessity akin to Minnesota's certificate of need. And then they also have a certificate of corridor compatibility and a route permit, which is similar to the PUC's route permit process. Again, a bit on where we've been and where we're going and where we're at. I mentioned we started with that initial study area, went into routing opportunities. Right now we're in the thick of developing preliminary routes, and that's going to be an ongoing and iterative process with the intent of identifying a proposed route next year and going into the state for approvals. I mentioned, we've really refined the potential project area and continue to do so. And really what we're out at these public open houses asking for is, what are we not aware of that we should be? Whether that's routing opportunities. More often we hear about the constraints, so we want to hear all those as well. But those are all subject to engineering constraints as well. So there's a lot of balance that's going into this routing process. We will be performing environmental studies, a full host of them. Again, we need to get a bit more refined in our potential routes before we send field crews out, but this gives you kind of a starting list for the surveys that we'll do. We'll do geotechnical evaluations, which really feed into the structure design and which types of structures we can place and where. And then getting into more of the environmental, cultural, and archaeological resources, wetland delineation surveys, and then any protected biological species. And a lot of that comes through consultation with the Department of Natural Resources. My clicker might have died. Thank you. So this is our preferred structure design. So it's a steel monopole with double circuit capable. What you see there, there's three conductors that hang on either side, and each side would represent one circuit. So as I mentioned, we'll hang all 6 conductors, but they'll be jumpered together and operate as a single circuit initially. The structures themselves are up to 180 feet tall, depending on topography and where they're located. And the right-of-way width required for these types of structures at 345 kilovolts is 150 feet. As I mentioned, we prefer co-location, and we're actually driven by state statute and policy to route co-located with existing transmission lines. And in those scenarios, we have the opportunity to overlap right-of-way about 30 feet. So it would reduce our new anticipated right-of-way width to 120 feet off of the outside edge. Again, certain site-specific constraints could, adjust those numbers here and there. In certain instances, we may have to pivot to some tubular lattice towers or just straight lattice tower structures. Typically, we look at these structures in poor soil conditions, primarily swampy areas. We don't anticipate placing these lattice structures in agricultural fields. We should be able to stick with the monopole design, but again, pending some crazy engineering feat that we can't get over, we're really proposing the monopole structures, but need to keep those lattice tower options open. This one is, typical pre-construction and construction activities once we do get into construction. I went through some of those initial surveying. There'll be some staking involved with that as well. And then it starts with foundation installation, standing up the tower, stringing those conductor wires, and then there's a cleanup and restoration phase that comes along with any type of project like this. And I touched on community engagement a bit, but so we launched our website and had our first round of open houses in June. We are going to be back in the area all of next week, starting in Fargo, working back towards the Brainerd area here by Thursday. And then, there's tons of engagement through that Public Utilities Commission process as we approach that as well. I believe that's all I have.
Any questions?
Questions?
Commissioner
Mr. Chair.
Corey.
So here's the way I interpret it, and tell me if I'm right or wrong, is this project and the other project that's going down to, I think, Becker, or down in that neck of the woods, it's more or less kind of strengthening the grid, because I perceive there's so much of this green kind of BS that when the windmills aren't, or the wind isn't blowing, and the solar panels are covered with snow, you got to have some power. And so you got to be able to go strengthen the grid so you can feed it one way or feed it the other. It's kind of a simplistic thing, but is that kind of what it is?
Yeah, I'll start by saying I am not an electrical engineer, and I don't pretend to be, but yes, the way you described it is kind of the need and intent of the projects as a whole. So you referenced another project, the Northland Reliability Project. That was approved in the first tranche of MISO projects. So that was, yes, part of the MISO process, and this is that second round of projects. So they do work together, right? But yes, as our generation sources, primarily renewable, with intermittent resources, there is a need to increase the broader regional transmission system, not only for intermittent generation resources like that, but really we have an aging electrical transmission system infrastructure. So it's an upgrade of that. And really it's big, it's regional. So MISO covers portions of 15 states and the province of Manitoba. So it's really enhancing the regional transfer capability. That's what these MISO projects are meant for.
And Mr. Chair, I would just say that Commissioner Lubke and I are on Crow Wing Power's Board of Directors also, and I'll tell you what, people don't realize what it takes when you turn on the light switch or your electric toothbrush, what it takes to provide that electricity, whether it's the coal-fired plant out in Bismarck, North Dakota, or it's getting to be a lot of natural gas, what would you call them? They kick in when you need extra power.
I believe they're peaking units?
Yeah, peaking units. Okay, thanks. So just one more question. What's the cost of this project?
That is a good question. I don't have that off the top of my head. I know there is a cost estimated through the MISO approval process. I don't have that on the.
Oh, that's all right.
To you, though.
Because I think the Northland Reliability Project was around $1.3 billion, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure, and I wasn't on that project.
Okay.
It'll likely be similar. I can get you MISO approved or MISO anticipated costs, but we will have a cost estimate associated with our permit
That's
application.
okay. I was just curious.
Yep.
So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Lee?
So with regard to the certificate for need, that'll be filed when you finally finalize where the route is most likely going to go, correct?
So the certificate of need application will actually precede our final route design. We have a statutory requirement to file that certificate of need application by February 7th. There's a 1-year window where we had a right of first refusal option, and to claim that we have to file our certificate of need by February 7th. And so we anticipate routing, we need a little more time to get 160 miles worth of routing designed. So that's why our route permit application is going to lag that 1 year or February 7th deadline.
Okay. I know you've had several meetings, or are having several meetings now. You've already had one that we attended in Ironton. at what point do you start notifying the individual property owners then of when it's most likely going to go through their area?
I'm going to defer, so Mike Putney is also with me. He's our land rights agent with Minnesota Power, so I'll let Mike answer that.
Hello. Yeah, so to your question, we anticipate getting land agents out, meeting face-to-face, calling, knocking on doors, early Q1 of 2026.
Okay.
When we have a much better, maybe not quite final, but a much more close to final idea of where the route's going to be.
Okay. That's great. I guess my thing I'll mention to both of you is just do your best to be as early and as often with our residents as you can, because communication is paramount with them. I don't know if you were involved with the previous project, but I know that was
yes.
okay. So you understand some of the hiccups we had then. So just
Sure.
that's my request to you guys, is make sure you talk to them as much as you can. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, how much new right-of-way are you gonna need to acquire? Are you still gonna be in the same corridor where the transmission lines are now, or are you gonna be running a whole new route through there?
Yeah, it'll be, we target co-location or parallel routing. In those instances, typically, we can overlap about 30 feet on one side. So in that scenario, we would be looking for 120 feet of new right-of-way. But standalone, if we aren't able to co-locate or parallel route, it would be 150 feet wide.
150 feet of
Yep.
right-of-way. The other thing is that I don't know if anybody, when we see the transmission lines we have around the area now, this is a transmission line on steroids, as far as the height and stuff compared to what we see in our area and where it comes through our area. I know it's gonna be a little bit of a challenge where you're coming through, if you're coming through DL and stuff like that. And when you get up in the lakes area, it does become observable when it's that high up. And that'll be kind of a challenge that we'll face as we get through that. Part of the reason that some of the other reasons that we have to do this is because we don't produce our production of power in Minnesota has been kind of curtailed by the fact that we have a nuclear moratorium and aren't building any more plants. And we've decided coal is dirty and we're shutting them down. So to me, I use this analogy as saying we need a bigger extension cord because we're not producing it right here. And so I think that's, but there's also a great need for it, especially with what's coming down the road with the AI and everything in regards to data requests, the amount of power that's going to be consumed there. So I plan to be, I would think I was at the Pine River one that you had, and I'll also be at the Breezy Point one, so thank you.
Sounds great.
Thank you, gentlemen. We look forward to additional updates as this project moves along, so thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Enjoy your trip in central Minnesota.
Okay.
Move on to number 7. 7.1 is the Leffler Acres final plat. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. We have 6 items for your consideration this morning. The first item we have under 7.1 is the final plat of Leffler Acres. The parcel ID for this is 5304-0576. It is located in Section 4 of Center Township. The preliminary plat was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission and the Board of Adjustment on August 21st of 2025, and then subsequently approved by the County Board on September 23rd. We did not receive any township comments for this request, and all requirements have been met for the final plat application and recommend approval as submitted. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Chris? If not, I would look for a motion to approve the final plat for Leffler Acres.
I will make the motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Lee, second by Commissioner Coring. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Not in favor, same sign. That motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next request is for the preliminary plat of Axel's Land for the following parcel number, 8831-0577, located in Section 31 of Platte Lake Township. The request is to approve a conventional design preliminary plat consisting of 2 residential lots on Platte Lake. The property is located off of South Platte Lake Drive. If we go to page 211. There we go. So this is the location of the property. This is a little bit unique. This is the property being subdivided, but there's a chunk that is also in Morrison County to the south. And so this is located in Government Lot 5, and is located in Section 6 of Richardson Township. And so this does have its own legal description. It's a separate parcel of land. And so if we can go back to the plat itself. Let's see, how about yep, right there, perfect. So you can see here's Platte Lake here, and this is Lot 1, this is Lot 2. That parcel in Morrison County is right here. Is where that so when Lot 2 is conveyed, there'll be the deed of restriction to say that these two lots will have to be sold together. The Planning Commission and the Board of Adjustment did hold a public hearing on September 18th and made a unanimous recommendation to the board to approve the preliminary plat of Axel's Land. The Planning Commission and Board of Adjustment developed the finding of fact found on page 229 and 230 for your consideration as well. We did not receive any township comments for this request. Based on the application submitted, staff packet, public comments, and the finding of fact, it is recommended to approve the preliminary plat of Axel's Land. Staff have reviewed the file and concur with the recommendation from the PCBOA. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
Mr. Chair, just a curiosity question. How does that work on that little sliver in Morrison County? I would assume they put some kind of a value so then they get a tax statement for Morrison?
Absolutely do. Yep, they do get a tax statement, and they will continue to do that. Nothing will change as far as valuation and how that's handled.
But I would assume the value isn't a whole lot because they can't build on that little sliver.
I didn't look at the value, but I would. There is definite value to it because without it, this is a non-riparian lot here on Lot 2. So.
Okay.
Gary, you had something to add?
Sure. Good morning, Commissioners. Typically what we do when they straddle a county boundary line is think of valuing that whole parcel without that line, and then we work with the other county assessor and we apportion the value between the two counties.
Oh, no kidding.
That way, so it's still only going to sell for X amount. It's just got a unique dividing line in it.
Okay. So you work with them to come up with a value for the whole thing, but then apportion out probably that little sliver then, I guess?
Yeah, this would be like a 25, 75.
More of a curiosity question, just kind of interesting, unique. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions? But if not, I would look for a motion to approve the preliminary plat for Axel's Land.
Motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Coring, second by Commissioner Lubke. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Not in favor, same sign. That motion passes. 7.3 is the final plat for Axel Land.
So all requirements have been met for the final plat of Axel's Land and recommend approval as submitted.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Coring,
Second by Lubke.
second by Commissioner Lubke. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Not in favor, same sign. That motion passes.
Thank you. Item
7.4
7.4 is a land use map amendment request for New Wave Property Management LLC. This is for parcel number 77190503, located in section 19 of Mission Township. The parcel is located at 13128 Mission Park Drive. The request is to amend the land use map from shoreland and rural residential 2.5 to commercial. So if we go to page 260, we can look at there we go. So this would be Mission Park Drive here, this would be County Road 3, this is Spur Oak here, and this is the property that you can kind of see with the highlight here. The area this is the shoreland district here that you can see, and that's where you see the blue shoreland zoning here, and then this is the shoreland coming from the other direction, and that's why the yellow boundary in between is that area that's non-shoreland that would be in that rural residential 2.5. And what they're requesting to do is to take this parcel here and basically change the zoning on that to match the pink, this commercial zoning that's in the area. There was a conditional use permit that was approved as well by the Planning Commission at the meeting that they held on September 18th to allow a commercial storage facility. And by amending the land use map here to commercial, it would also allow them to have outdoor storage on the property. Mission Township did send in a letter to us dated September 11th, 2025, and they supported both the conditional use permit and the LUMA from the township. As I mentioned, that there was a public hearing held on September 18th, and the PCBOA did make a unanimous recommendation to the board to approve the land use map for this parcel from shoreland and rural residential 2.5 to commercial. They also developed a finding of fact found in your packet on pages 272 and 273 for your consideration. And based on the application submitted, staff packet, public comments, and the findings of fact, is recommended to approve the land use map as submitted. Staff have reviewed the file and concur with the recommendation from the Planning Commission Board of Adjustment. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Commissioner Lubke.
Yeah. So it's in the shoreline district, but it's actually pretty far from water, correct?
Correct. So as a reminder,
Termination then.
yeah, good. That's a great point. So the shoreline district is 1,000 feet back from a lake, and it's 300 feet from a stream or a river. And then if it's on the Mississippi, it's 500 feet. That's the extent of the shoreline district. And so that's what this buffer line is right here, shows that 1,000-foot buffer. And then this would be a 1,000-foot buffer for a different lake on the other direction. And so you're right, it is right at the very edge of the shoreline district, and part of it is actually out when you see that yellow area right there. Absolutely, yep.
Any other questions, concerns? If not, I would look for a motion to approve the land use map amendment.
Motion to approve the land use map.
Commissioner Lubke makes a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Lee. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Not in favor, same sign. That motion passes. 7.5.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next item is for a land use map amendment request for parcel number 90230507, located in section 23 of St. Matthias Township. The request is to amend the land use map from agricultural forestry to rural residential 5, involving approximately 80 acres. So if you look, this is the parcel in question here that they would like to amend the map towards. Just for a location, this is County Road 122. We have 20th Street to the south. We have 90th Avenue in this direction. As a reminder, the colors, this right here, the blue is rural residential 5. The green would be the agricultural forestry district. And then this little area of brown here is rural residential 10. And so the request is that they want to have this area here match this here to have that be 5 acre zoning. As a reminder, the agricultural forestry district minimum lot size is 35 acres, so basically a 40 can't be subdivided any more than what it currently is based on that. St. Matthias did send in a letter dated August 4th of 2025 supporting the land use map amendment request. There was a public hearing held by the Planning Commission and Board of Adjustment on September 18th, and they made a unanimous recommendation to the board to approve the land use map for this parcel from agricultural forestry to rural residential 5, involving approximately 80 acres. The Planning Commission Board of Adjustment did develop a finding of fact found on pages 283 and 284 of your packet for your consideration as well. And based on the application submitted, staff packet, public comments, and the finding of fact, it is recommended to approve the land use map amendment as submitted. The staff have reviewed the file and concur with the recommendation from the Planning Commission and Board of Adjustment.
Questions, concerns? Commissioner
Mr.
Corning.
Chair, so St. Matthias Township supervisors sent a letter of support on this?
They did.
Okay, that kind of surprises me, but because if I remember the Bill Marshall project, they were upset. They didn't want it to be 5 acres. They wanted it to be 10, so I've changed their position apparently.
Yep. Yeah, we received a letter from them on August 4th, 2025. It was on page 279 of your packet.
Okay, all right. Mr. Chair, Mr. Lostrom is here. Peter, if you want to speak, it's up to you, if that be okay with you, sure. Mr. Chair. I don't know, anything to add?
It seems apparent. It's pretty straightforward.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if there's no other questions or concerns, I would move the adoption of the, Chris, were you done? I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I would move the adoption of the land use map amendment for the Peter Lostrom property.
Commissioner
Second.
Coring makes a motion to approve. Commissioner Franzine seconds that motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Not in favor, same sign. That motion passes. Congratulations. 7.6, and at this point, this is my brother-in-law's property, so I'm going to recuse myself from consideration. So Commissioner Franzine, if you would take over.
Okay. Chris?
Thank you. The final request today is for a land use map amendment for parcel number 78340608 located in section 34 of Noke Lake Township. The request is to amend the land use map from agricultural forestry to rural residential 2.5 involving approximately 20 acres. If we go to let's go to 288, the next page. There we go. Kind of give us an idea of where we're at first. So this is Highway 18 here. This would be in the area like where the Green Lantern would be located. This is Grave Lake. You have Pinehurst and you have Amrud Road. If you could go back up to that other 287 now. So again, you have the lake over here. As we talked about, here's that buffer area. And what they're looking to do is basically take the area that's in blue and basically rezone that to our 2.5. It's about 20 acres. And we did not receive any township comments on this request. So everything everything that is currently shoreland will stay shoreland. Everything that's out of the shoreland district would be zoned to R 2.5. If you can go, I'm sorry, could you go back to that other map, 288? You can again see just to the north, that's what all this yellow is that R 2.5. So there's definitely 2.5 acre zoning in the area. It's just north of the little creek that comes through that connects those two lakes there. The Planning Commission Board of Adjustment did hold a public hearing on September 18th and made a unanimous recommendation to the board to approve the land use map for this parcel from agricultural forestry to rural residential 2.5 involving approximately 20 acres. The Planning Commission Board of Adjustment did develop a finding of fact found on pages 294 and 295 for your board's consideration as part of your packet. Based on the application submitted, the staff packet, public comments, and the finding of fact, it is recommended to approve the land use map amendment as submitted. Its staff have reviewed the file and concur with the recommendation as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Madam Chair, so what it would be, Chris, is you'd turn on Pinehurst, and then you'd go down and take the first left on that dirt road on Amrud.
Yep, right
and
here.
that would be how you'd access that property.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, it's
And
directly to the south of that.
and then once that's 2.5 acres, they could plot that off, and
Correct.
they'd have to come with a plat then, or?
They would be able, because that's in the non-shoreline area, they would be able to create 5 lots every 3 years without having to actually go through a plat. And
Oh, no
that's an
kidding.
administrative
Okay.
process that can be approved by the department and doesn't need county board approval.
Okay.
Any
And-
other questions?
And no objections from the township?
No comment from the
No
township.
comment, okay. Madam Chair, if no other questions or comments, I would move the adoption of the land use map amendment for the Stefan Amrud land use map amendment.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Coring, a second by Commissioner Lee. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, with Commissioner Barrows abstaining.
Thank you, Commissioner Franzine.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chris. All right, we'll move on to 8.1, County Sheriff and the JPA for the Correctional Facility Pilot Program.
Morning.
Good
It's
morning.
been a while since I've had the opportunity to stand in front of you guys. I'd like to take a few minutes to share an exciting partnership opportunity between the Crow Wing County Sheriff's Office and the Minnesota Department of Human Services, specifically through the state-operated forensic services. DHS has launched a 2-year pilot program focused on improving access to mental health treatment within county jails, particularly for individuals who may require involuntary or injectable psychiatric medications. The Crow Wing County Jail was selected as one of the initial partner sites after DHS reviewed survey responses from counties across the state. This means we'll be working directly with the state's forensic mental health experts, psychiatrists, nurses, social workers, and pharmacists to enhance how we assess, treat, and support inmates experiencing serious mental health needs. This is a no-cost partnership. I repeat, there's no financial obligation to the county. The value comes from technical assistance, staff education, and consultation DHS will provide to help us strengthen our policies, training, and care practices. Ultimately, this agreement allows us to bring state-level expertise into our facility, build staff confidence, and ensure we're providing the most ethical and clinically appropriate care possible for those in our custody. I'm requesting the board's approval to enter into this joint powers agreement so we can move forward with DHS on this important initiative. And I brought Anna Anderson over. She's our jail mental health worker, and she can kind of answer some of the specific, as she's going to be our point of contact working with the DHS.
So I have a couple questions. The first one being, what is our current process if we've deemed that the individual needs psychotropic meds and injectables?
Well,
in particular?
I don't know if you can speak a little bit specifically to the injectables.
Yeah, currently we do not offer involuntary injectables. If we do have an inmate that is taking an injectable medication, we do special order that from a pharmacy. However, with insurance often suspended with an inmate, the costs associated with that is anywhere from $1,000 to $4,000, depending on the type of medication that they take.
And that's specifically the anti-psychotropic medications. That doesn't count insulin, which is an injectable as well.
So we order it, comes in, and then the RN,
Yep, our medical provider approves it, and then our RN would administer that for the patient.
okay, and I would assume that these individuals are committed then, that we're giving injections?
Some are and some are not.
Interesting. And this is a DHS initiative. Interesting, because in any of your CBHHs and that, they have to be committed in order to receive injectable medications.
Correct.
And yet they're, in our jails, we're going to look at it a little differently. So if insurance is suspended, who pays the $4,000 or less, whatever it might be?
Well, we typically pay the upfront costs, and then we bill the patient or the inmate, and that's something that they carry with them as they leave.
Do we know what the collection rate is on that?
It's not very high.
So there is a cost.
There is a cost, yes.
But it's always been a cost, so
Yep.
it's not, this isn't any different. In terms of keeping records, will that increase, tracking what we're doing for the sake of the JPA?
I think minimally, I think the DHS will be able to provide us some structure on what that reporting and that recording process looks like.
The reason I'm asking is the capacity of our staff to take on more of that logging the information.
Well, unfortunately, we now have the electric record system in our medical department now, which will streamline a lot of that processing and the records keeping.
Okay, and I did see that that's a requirement for this opportunity, so. So I wasn't going to say this, but I'm going to say it now. My caution is to all of us as board members, commissioners, is that in the mental health world, what I see is that there's more and more chipping away for our jail personnel to have to deal with mental health, more and more. And so this is probably a future thing, but we need to consider and look at what we're being asked to do in our jails, which is more and more of what used to be the mental health process out there. So I just put that out there. It's just a statement. I don't want to go any further than that with it at this point, but for the administrator, something to keep on your, just remember it as we go forward, because we continue to they ask us to do more and more, and I understand the issue. With that, I will.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Lucky.
So right now, we've had it where if somebody comes in and says involuntary, meaning they aren't asking for it, we're saying that we're going to give it to this person because they are, who determines that? That they're coming unglued, the wheels are coming off, and you decide you need to give them some kind of medication to calm them down? Is that what this is?
Well, we're not to that point yet. We don't force medications on anyone in the facility. This right here, they're going to kind of help us create what that program and that structure would look
What
like.
that'll be.
Yep.
Because we've had challenges in the jail and with jail staff where somebody comes in there and they're
They're a bit unstable and uncooperative.
a bit unstable could be probably a really nice way of putting it, and there's nothing we can do for that person that's in there. And this is just kind of heading in that direction, as Commissioner Barrows had mentioned, that we're heading down a path that really jails weren't really designed to be mental health facilities.
Correct. They're tending to shift that responsibility from the state onto the counties, unfortunately.
No. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Anna, Troy, with the implementation of this program, this will be something that's done in consultation with the medical provider, with our CRE team, with our folks who are actually working in that realm. So it will be with our social workers who are seeing and addressing some of those needs, our medical providers. It would be done in consultation to figure out what the need would be there and how it's going to be. It's not just willy-nilly deciding, a CO saying we should do something here. This is a pilot program to help identify if this is another tool in the toolbox to be able to address what the needs are in that realm.
Concerns? Any other
Yeah,
concerns?
just
Commissioner
one.
Lee?
Can you, ultimately, it's going to be a doctor that's making that decision, right? Based off of guidance from staff and you, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
I believe it has to be a psychiatrist that has to make that decision, not just an MD.
No, it can be a medical doctor.
Really? Then why do we hire psychiatrists in CBHHs? You don't have to answer that question.
Commissioner Barrows, I'll ask one more question. Do we have somebody of the two doctors, I think we still have two doctors that kind of oversee that. Isn't one of the doctors more trained in this area than the other? Or would those be the doctors that would look at prescribing this under this pilot program?
Well, our physicians, the doctors that we have contracted with, that's a little bit outside of their scope.
Okay.
We do have one that specializes with substance use
Okay.
disorder. But mental health and substance use disorder kind of go hand in hand.
To a degree. So it'll be another doctor that'll actually be overseeing this pilot program?
Well, we wouldn't bring in another doctor. They would be getting training, so part of this pilot program will provide education and training, and that'll be for our providers as well.
Okay.
Any other concerns?
Where does the funding for this come from, the county or the state?
The state.
Okay. Thank you.
There's no other.
Commissioner Barrows, we've got, Steph has a comment or a question I think she wants to add in.
Stephanie? Can't hear you.
Is your mute on?
I didn't want anybody to hear what I was doing before I got called on. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I took a look at this, as did Kelsey. There's a lot of changes that are happening in the criminal world, and they're looking at actually having some commitment type work done on the criminal side of things. And like Mr. Chair talked about, things are happening on the criminal side of things, and things are happening within the jails. That is still being explored, and we're trying to figure out the actual avenues that are happening that way. But I think there is an anticipation that we'll actually have court orders, just like in the commitment world, and they're called Jarvis orders to put forth that medication. But it will be through DHS, so I anticipate either court orders or something along those lines to actually do the involuntary medication. It's not just going to be, two people say that this person needs this medication and it's going to be a 24-hour turnaround. I think there'll be a lot to it because it is through DHS. So that's kind of my thought process. Kelsey may have something more, but she read through everything as well.
Very good. Thank you. If there's no other discussion or concerns, I would look for a motion to approve. I will make the motion to approve. I look for a second.
I will second that motion.
Commissioner Lupke makes the second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Not in favor, same sign. That motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
County Attorney.
Now you speak.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. I don't have anything for you this morning, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you have for me today.
Questions for Kelsey on her first visit?
Did you have anything to add to the presentation by?
I don't. I reviewed all the documents that they sent us, and I agree with Steph. It's more of a training resource opportunity at this point, and I think we'll know more once they kind of come in-house. But like Steph said, I think we're going to have more direction on how medications are administered and that sort of thing once we get going on that. But nothing to add from what Ms. Shook provided today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I,
County
Mr. Chair,
Administrator, go ahead.
I would just say that I agree with the chairman. I think all of us on the board here are suspicious, always suspicious of what's happening with the state. It's always this, it almost seems like a carrot, and then down the road, all of a sudden, we're paying for it. And that concerns me, because then the only alternative we have is the property taxes. And a lot of shifting, and it's kind of spooky, so.
Thank you. Commissioner Coring?
I just want to comment on that too, since we're still on the topic. I agree with that statement. I think that's the concern for me is one is the cost, because ultimately, somehow we're going to end up paying for this. I'm okay with it as a pilot till we can see what it's going to do. But I'm also apprehensive about who the ultimate control is going to be on somebody getting forced to receive a shot they didn't want, so. I'll
I
leave it
just
at
think we need to, as a board, and I would say this across the state, we need to be watching this real close, but we also need to put pressure on our electeds at the state level to make sure that there's a more appropriate direction to go rather than through our jail system. And with that, Administrator, your opportunity.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, the first item I have before you today is a vacancy on our NRAC committee, on the Natural Resources Advisory Committee. With the passing of Larry Moses, there is an at-large vacancy on the committee, and this is an appointment that comes from the board. So past practice has been that we have advertised for folks who are interested to submit a letter of interest for your consideration, and then an appointment can be made at that point. So the recommended action before you today would be to advertise the vacancy on the Natural Resources Advisory Committee to solicit letters of interest from the public until 4:30 p.m. on November 5th.
So do you need a motion on that?
I do, please.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Lee, second by Commissioner Lubke. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Not in favor, same sign. That motion passes. Thank you.
And I would like to make a comment. In the comments here, it says the NRA committee. That's a whole lot different than the NRAC committee.
We'll make sure that gets fixed.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, the second item I have before you today is the senior management team report. The senior management team did meet yesterday. We had a very full agenda with different topics. Our first item we discussed was an update from our Continuous Improvement Committee, as well as a project report out on a project that was recently completed with some cooperation and onboarding of folks who are eligible for some services within our Community Services Department that we want to make sure that we are reducing the administrative burden that's happening when they switch from one type of waiver program to another based on aging into one or the other. So that was a really good exercise that our program team had gone through, and they provided us a little bit of an update and overview of that project, which ultimately does show process improvements, better quality service that's offered to our service folks, and is a cost savings as well. So all the things we hope to see from our CI team. We also reviewed the 2026 budget process because we're getting ready to start the 2027 budget process. So there was some discussion on what worked well with our first venture into the 5-year budget realm. We had some conversation around what the process will look like as we move into 2027 to continue that enhancement and grow our CIP, our capital plan from a 7-year plan to a 10-year plan as we move into 2027. So we got some ideas and suggestions for our finance director, and we will continue that work into the future. And then we also discussed cybersecurity, which seems to be an ongoing topic that we talk about at almost every meeting. At this point, we're looking at things that we can do to help create our backup plan. What happens if we no longer have access to our computers or our phones? What are the ways that we are going to continue to provide services? What is our backup plan if we don't have access for anything, and how long can we sustain that? What does that priority look like for our IT folks to get things stood back up? And we'll be continuing to work through those exercises as a tabletop exercise over the upcoming meetings as well. And finally, we reviewed the refinements to our performance management software templates that we've talked about in the past, so that we have those ready to roll out for January of 2026 as well. That's all I have for you today, unless any of you have any questions for me.
Any questions for the administrator? All right, additional business?
Mr. Chair,
Coring.
Mr. Chair, as long as Gary's sitting here, just wondering, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but just wondering, it's the 14th today, I believe tomorrow is the deadline, and I'm just wondering how things are going with the staff and how things are going and permitting, and if you got any updates, I guess I'd be interested in hearing how things are going in your department, as long as you're sitting here.
Sure. Mr. Chair, Commissioners, frankly, going very smoothly. We've really kept up. Second half is usually, quite a bit less than the first half. It seems like we could have 20 more staff to process tax payments and keep on top of them. But it's been going very smooth, frankly. No hiccups. Everything's operating good. And I think we're past the peak, even though tomorrow's the last day. Usually Monday and Tuesday this week's usually the busiest, so yeah.
Otherwise,
I don't really have a lot of updates.
No, I
so,
know it.
The only other thing I guess I would say is if you haven't been down to this little park, our one little county park down south, there's a new trail being put in. I think the boardwalk got put in and installed, and it's looking pretty nice.
The only thing, Mr. Chairman, is they put a bollard in where the trail is. I can't ride my golf cart on the trail anymore, so.
It was specific for one person.
I was just gonna, thank you.
Gary, let me ask you, is there any parks in District 3?
County parks, no. But
That's all I need to know.
None of District 3 is within the county, it's just the cities.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Lubke.
Gary, I did have a conversation, and I told the person who talked to was Patty Norgard, who had been through the Milford mine, and she mentioned how great it was, and I said, well, make sure you send, it's not in the district I serve, but make sure you send Jamie one and also, and she said she had her grandkids and stuff out there, and she just couldn't believe how nice that park really turned out, so.
Yeah, Commissioner Lubke, she mentioned Milford and Emily,
and the
little
one
Emily,
up there in
that
Emily
she
Lake.
thought they both were spectacular.
Yeah.
I think she said something like we knew what we were doing, so I thought that was.
I don't know if Patty would have said that, but I'll have to look at that article or that note she sent me.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gary.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Mr. Chair, maybe one other, as long as Jory's sitting there. Jory, we don't hear from you a whole lot, but how's things in your department? I know you just hired a new facilities director, so any updates on anything at all, the sinkhole or?
Sure, I can.
Maybe Renee wants to know about this sinkhole, so.
I can fill you in, Mr. Chair and Commissioner Corn, thank you. The sinkhole project was connected last Friday. They're continuing some utility work. If it's not covered up already, I walked over this morning, and there's multiple utility lines running through that trench that they had to dig, which did make it rather difficult, but Home Big Excavating was the contractor who came in and performed the work, and they did an outstanding job for us, as they have in other projects that we've had. That should be getting wrapped up in the next day or two here. They were backfilling this morning. So the sinkhole should be behind us now. Land Services generator should be hooked back up, which was a casualty of that sinkhole, broke the line underneath that runs to Land Services. They got that hooked up again last week. You asked about the facilities manager position is filled. Kurt Wilczek is the new facilities manager's name. He lives in Merrifield, and he will be starting with us on Monday. So you'll get to meet him at personnel Monday morning.
Okay.
Thank you, Joey.
Yep, thank you.
Commissioner Coring, I just want to caution you that pretty soon none of our SMT members are going to come to these meetings.
I know it. That's
Like that.
when they get called out when they're sitting here.
So I want to piggyback off the administrator for a second on what she said. This is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, so we should all be aware of watching ourselves with our emails and any communications that we have. Second thing is, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we should be understanding of what happens when these situations take place on any cancer, but this month, particularly breast cancer. And the last one I have is, this is Domestic Violence Month, and tonight there's the candlelight vigil down at Lyman White. If any of you are interested in joining, we will read the names of the individuals that have died due to domestic violence. So with that, if there isn't anything else, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Franzine, second by Commissioner Coring. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Not in favor? Well, I guess it passes.